Hello everybody, I'm Flo Teslaw, and I'm the co-creator of the Eternal Source of Light Academy, also known as TESLAcademy, where we raise the Earth's vibration one soul at a time. So today we're going to be discussing communication and why it's important. Now this is part of a video series. We're breaking it down into 10-minute increments, and this is the first one. So our goal is to figure out why we communicate. Now, it is believed that the primary goal of human existence is communication. Because if we were just to talk to ourselves in a mirror, we wouldn't be able to get the feedback. So we're actually able to see ourselves by the way other people see us. Now, does that mean that we are victims to the way other people see us and we must believe ourselves to be the way they see us? Absolutely not. But it is a way for our mind to process our identity and our self-esteem. So it's really important for us to have a view of ourselves so that as we're speaking to people and a person sees you differently than you see yourself, you can either take that information and say, you know what, maybe I'm not looking at myself all the way, or you can look at them and say, you know what, I think that actually lives in them, and I don't think communication with them is the best thing for me. So let's start there. Now, the most pivotal part of communication is our health. So within our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, communication is the core of all of those. So if we're not communicating or someone's not communicating with us, it can actually cause death and illness within our being, mentally, physically, emotionally, every way possible. So without communication, death can occur. And this was highlighted back in Germany in 1196 through 1250. Those are the years. So back then, there was an emperor, and he had the idea that babies already knew language, and that if the primary caregiver didn't speak to the baby or nobody spoke to the baby would develop its own language. So he decided that he was going to tell foster mothers, he had a group of foster mothers, to feed the babies, meet the physical needs of the babies, but not to speak to them, just to see what language would actually emerge. Well, they all died. So without communication, we begin the dying process. We came here for communication. It enriches our lives, or it gives us an opportunity to see ourselves the way someone else sees us. And as I said before, we must develop our strong self-esteem and self-identity in order for us to know whether or not what they're giving us needs to be considered, or we can discount it. And that's part of our free will as well, right? So in other videos, we will talk a lot about free will, because free will is a gift. And it's something that really needs to be understood by us so that we can see the actions of others in an appropriate way, and we can see the consequences of our actions in the way that they transform, in the way that they present. So we have many reasons as to why we need to communicate. It's an actual need, just like water, just like food, just like air. And one of them is the physical need. So people who have healthy communications have a stronger heart health. So yes, they say take supplements for your heart, exercise for your heart, but they never mention improving your communication in order to allow your heart to have that full energetic force. Now, you know, when you have a broken heart, oftentimes there's a break in communication, right? So we know that communication and isolation affects the heart. That's not disputed. That's been shown through science and all kinds of different studies. You can look around and you can see it. Feel what you feel like when you have a bad interaction. How does your heart feel? You can energetically feel that constriction, and it's really an uncomfortable feeling. And you have to remember that as you communicate, as the sender, what message you're sending to someone else and how you might be prompting them to feel. So keep that in mind as the sender. So with the common cold, you're 4 times more likely to have symptoms of a common cold when communication breaks down. So as you know, we're going through this whole health crisis issue, and we're being isolated. Isolating is actually causing more symptoms than if somebody were to have resilient relationships and continue to communicate with one another. Can you have symptoms of the common cold without ever coming in contact with the virus or the germ or whatever? Yes, you can. So, and that's also shown throughout. It actually begins, illness begins in the body. It's not necessarily something that comes from the environment. The body is the first environment. And if we keep this environment healthy, then there's much less threat from the outer environment as far as germs and different things like that go. Okay, so when we have healthy communications, it increases longevity. We actually live longer. That's the one factor above all else, above diet, above exercise, is that if we have healthy communications, then we actually live longer no matter what. And married men live double the life of unmarried men. So that's also a factor because there's a communication there and there's a connection, and we can't build a connection without communication, right? Okay. Men who are divorced are 5 times more likely to suffer from cancer. So that's also a factor, right? So, there are a lot of factors to consider when we're dealing with illness. People who have defensive communication mechanisms, so somebody who can't take constructive criticism, they actually have higher blood pressure generally. And so, do they have higher blood pressure because they're defensive, or are they defensive because they have higher blood pressure? That's yet to be determined. But what I do know is that I have the ability to alter my communication, which then will alter my blood pressure. And people who acknowledge their limitations actually have a lowered sense of they have a healthy blood pressure. So if you're able to say, you know what, that constructive criticism, I think I'm going to consider that. And then because of your high self-esteem, you consider it and you say, I really could make some changes in order to have better communication. That's the best way of dealing with your blood pressure. There's also identity needs. So I see myself the way that you see me. However, I don't have to see myself that way, right? But that's feedback. And if I'm open to receiving that feedback, I'm in a constant state of change, and I can make the changes and alter myself in any way that I need to alter myself in order to grow and evolve as a soul. So when I refer to evolve, I'm referring to the personality and the soul, not the physical being. So the most pivotal and important communication is in early childhood for identity reasons. So horrible things about yourself, those things are going to affect you throughout your life until you do the childhood work. Okay, so in my coaching practice, we do a lot of work with the childhood. And so we go in and we really tap into that and we figure out what's there. And what happens is if we're told horrible things in our childhood, that's the way we see ourselves. And that's the way we assume everyone else sees us, no matter what kind of interaction we have. And it doesn't allow us to actually become adults. It stunts our growth at that childhood level. So keep that in mind as you begin to communicate with others and really pay attention to what's being said and what message is being conveyed, because it's not just about what someone says to us. It is about the way they say it, how they're moving, their body language, how they position their body. Are they leaning in? Are they scooting back? Are they making eye contact? Are they looking side to side? Are they looking down? All of this gives us cues. And even the facial, are they smiling while they're talking to us? Or are they like this? And even though they're saying like really wonderful things, their face is like telling you they're not. These types of things are forms of communication. Not only that, but our spiritual body, our light body extends out. And if you're within your heart, it can extend all the way covering the whole earth. if we are in fear, our light body actually condenses inside. So we have a less likelihood of connecting when we're in fear, unfortunately. So the graphic behind me shows the communication, and the reason why it doesn't just go from one side to the other side with a straight line, and there's all these squiggly lines in there, is because those are the filters that we put someone else's message through before we receive it. So I could say to you, I really think you're beautiful. And if you were told your whole life that you're ugly, me saying you're beautiful is not going to come across that way. It's actually going to come across, she's manipulating me. She's insulting my intelligence. Of course I'm not beautiful. Well, I see the light in you. I don't see the physical being. So we're actually talking about two different things. And the communication there begins to break down, right? So we really need to consider where we are when we receive a message and how that message came through. And then we want to think of the intention. Why did somebody say that? Why did I tell you you were beautiful? Maybe because I was feeling beautiful and I just wanted to share that with you. But you were not the right person to share it with, right? Because you didn't receive it very well. So my message didn't even get through. It got through, but it got all these distortions with it, right? So that's why communication, and we're having these discussions, and it's super important to have these discussions in this way. And so there's a lot of other things that we can discuss with communication. Our 10 minutes is up, but I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.